Greetings and welcome to the Watcher's Prophecy News. My name is Mars and I am your host. I want to welcome you to KW Radio tonight. We have a very serious topic because so many are desperate to know. Lord, what are these things? I'm going to get into that. Tonight we will find out. I'm going to give you the Watcher Society's own conclusions. Our private think tank has been around for almost 20 years. You can find us on Facebook under the search term The Watcher Society. We are a very elite group of thinkers on the end of days there, and we deeply study Bible prophecy. You can find us on Shoutcast and TuneIn under search term KW Radio. Our shows are also on YouTube and rebroadcast every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, only on www.kw.us. KW Radio is America's premier Christian radio station, and we are beyond blessed that you are here. Now, at the current, there are wars and famine all over our dear planet. 40 to 80 babies a day die just from starvation, and 1,700 or more a day worldwide aborted. Third happened over the last trimester. We reign tyranny and unnecessary death and destruction on a horrific daily basis. By war alone, we maim and kill 10 to 40 children each day. We spend more money on bombs than babies. We have more bombs stored up that if all detonated at once just in the United States arsenal alone to blow the planet apart some 66 times over. Most wars come down to one thing, and that is greed, which comes hand in hand with control. It is a fact, according to Mark Research, that you are being controlled some 40 times each day. That's right. Bombarded every single hour. From the gas and smokes you buy to the medicines designed to prolong illness rather than cure it. The government has and is running some 200 various subliminal messages in various forms of advertising. It is very well known in Hollywood. Our officials are more deceived than the public they serve. On payday, the cash you even touch has enough drug residue to poison to death the average cat. Our body needs water to live, yet they even control and poison our water with mind-altering substances. Our children are being taught that they can reject their sex regardless of their parents. And now being reported that 12 U.S. schools are fully following Obama's new doctrine so that young boys can shower with young girls in PE. By the way, 11 of those schools are in California, by the way. Our skies are full of things that we cannot identify. We are being sprayed daily with chemical mixes that are so exotic that even chemistry majors have a hard time understanding what's in the mix. Our oceans contain enough plastic to build the entire state of New York twice. Every single building. Our forests have been decimated to the point that to regrow our ecosystem now would take some 150 years if every man, woman, and child planted 5 trees a day for the rest of their entire life. Could no longer, according to the World Health Organization, eat safely from our oceans. Our rivers contain enough poison to make a trail 1 foot wide all the way to Mars. And back, not once, but twice. That's our rivers. We have not learnt by our destructive past the errors of our ways and how one conflict breeds many more future conflicts for the human race. The Bible says the hearts of men are continuously wicked. Anything we don't understand or don't agree with, we war versus. Even if there were ancient astronauts, they would run from our world, as we are a very clever and very destructive race. In those early days, ancient astronauts would have probably loved our world, so blessed. But now, should any be lurking, they would run at warp speed and put signs everywhere around us, around our world, warning, big explosion soon! Alien deception is upon us. Many believe these entities are evil, as no decent creature would want anything to do with our race. We have been programmed to know what they look like. Every human on earth from the age of 2 or 3 has even seen a picture of one. Back in World War II, literally thousands of UFO sightings were witnessed by hundreds of various air forces in the sky. Literally thousands of pilots testified to this fact. They called the specific orb-like UFOs Foo Fighters, which appeared to follow the warplanes up high in the sky, almost if something was watching and reviewing our destructive actions against one another. Some people claim that we are subconsciously waking, and perhaps there is some genetic link inside of all of us that makes us feel that we need to learn about our true origins in this life. But in order to accept how we come about this, it's important to open up your minds and accept the fact that we are made from the stuff of stars. And folks, there is only one hand that can do that. His name is Jesus Christ. Folks, these entities are not our friends. Our conclusion at the Watcher Society is that these are demons posing as ancient astronauts for a deception coming so vast that the human mind will not only accept that they are here for our own good, but for the insanity of a one-world government imposed by an antichrist and the likelihood of a false prophet who is indeed a posing alien. It seems the grand question of the day: should the government disclose the existence of aliens and UFOs? When it's time, maybe, perhaps. I know a lot of people that are furious the government hasn't revealed what it knows. Most of us who have followed the research, studied this deeply, this facade, knows already that the truth is terrible indeed. Truth about these things are demented. The truth is shocking because not only does it reveal the intent and actions of these beings on earth, it reveals the government's own complicity in covering it up. Even to the extent of making a treaty, allowing it to happen in exchange for end times technology. That's right. It's created a much bigger problem than they could have ever imagined, the great military-industrial complex that we were warned about. Although the media and local law enforcement have worked in collusion with the government in covering these hideous crimes against humanity for over 60 years, how much longer can they hide the facts? Many smart people who are digging deep, as we are uncovering the truth. So many missing and abduction cases. Let's get into that. Every year, 300,000 children are missing worldwide. 300,000. Not to mention the adults that are far underreported to be missing as well. In fact, out of the 300,000 plus people a year, how many did you hear about from the media? Maybe only the ones that ring your phone in an Amber Alert. The only ones that you'll really hear about are the ones that the media are sure don't involve strange circumstances, such as a UFO. They'll certainly tell you when the gorilla gets your baby. The children are used for food. The adults are used for food as well, but the majority of adults are used for alien-human breeding via genetic engineering through these abductions. And you might say, well, Mars, how do you know that? Let's look at some of these facts. Since 1938, we've lost over 200 aircraft due to UFO hostilities and thousands of soldiers of all kinds, different actions with these aliens. This is from the government, not from me. United States Government Memo 1604, Freedom of Information Act 1991. Since that time, several 100,000 civilians have disappeared with no trace, both ships and planes alike. Several thousand people have been eliminated by the government because of their chance encounters with these so-called aliens, of which the government could not risk being so publicized. So not only do we have hundreds of thousands of people missing from these supposed aliens, our government is killing thousands of people as well to keep them quiet of their knowledge spreading these UFO encounters. The ones that are successful, their lives in many cases are often ruined and ridiculed. In fact, it is so noted that everyone here will gasp that the government keeps secret lists of UFO hunters who are constantly being thrown fish to keep the public way off track. Nibiru is a great example of this. Those of you who believe that bunk really should study some real science. Mark research showed that some people professing to be Christians were indeed reporting that they had encountered this experience in their lives. Really? Same experience that people, all faiths, every faith, or no faith, had been reporting over the many years of UFO research, all tell the same story, same conclusion. Research polls throughout the years have shown that upwards of 5 million people may have experienced some type of this phenomenon. They even classify it in stages so that at the last stage the government can get involved in people's lives. From the pages of nearly every tabloid rag, we get claims of the most bizarre. Mind you, to note, these are mostly dead fish. Slightly more frightening phenomena known as human mutilations have occurred on a regular basis. And they're very similar to these cattle mutilations in that humans are taken off the street, so to speak, and returned to the same area 45 minutes to an hour later with their rectums scored out, their genitals removed, implants, their eyes removed from their sockets, are completely drained of blood. In some cases, it appears that the mutilation procedures occurred with a laser. That's right. While the very persons were still alive and conscious. Ever hear about this in the mainstream media? Ever? Ever? Abductions occur on a daily basis throughout the United States. Daily. To at least 10% of the population. Yes, that many! Shocking, you say? True can it be? Folks, this is a small fraction compared to the rest of the world that is experiencing the same thing. In the United States alone, over 3 million people every 10 years disappear or completely vanish by the aliens, so-called aliens. This doesn't include those that are abducted, chip implanted for future tracking purposes, and brought back. Oh, they want you to be scared. They feed on fear. Folks, these are actions of demons. Read what Ezekiel said and seen of their technology in his own day. Such a primitive man trying to describe end times technology. Get it clear in your head that when he's seen these things, God told him they were angels. Fallen ones, of course. We have testimony. We're going to get into this much, much deeper. By the government, by a particular individual, that the government has and is being completely deceived by aliens. This insider's name is Bill. We're going to get to plenty of him later. And many of his excerpts from his deathbed confessions that will likely leave you with some dreams. He says, when the government were first made aware of this, the mutilations and the abductions, we protested to the little gray being that we had held in captivity at the YY2 facility in Los Alamos. But the deal was struck that in exchange for this advanced technology, microprocessors, many other things, transistors. See, our technology was going in an entirely different direction. We were using voltage amplifiers, vacuum tubes. Now, these aliens have introduced current amplifying technology, transistors. Our society is now completely based upon these things from these very entities. We, the government, would allow them to abduct a very small number of persons, and we would periodically be given a list of those persons abducted. We got something less than the technology we bargained for, and found the abductions exceeding by millions-fold than what we had naively agreed to. That's right, we were deceived. Eisenhower tried to warn us. He tried. He was threatened to his very death. Credible witnesses' testimony over the years have always been threatened. It's interesting how dozens of governments worldwide are admitting to UFOs being real, but when an insider speaks out, they're usually threatened or even murdered. Certainly denied. Oh, that can't be real. That's got to be tabloid junk. Oh, don't believe that, son. Don't believe any of that. It's almost if there is a battle within the establishment, and there is. Some of them want the human race to know, and some of them don't. It's confusion-based. Who is authorizing the release of this documentation? Apart from thousands of misleading counterparts and many others, we have millions of pages of documentation, many freedom of information requests by our own government, and thousands upon thousands of credible testimony from insiders and people just like me and you, many of whom are even on the Watcher Society. Now tell me, is what the elite's doing to mankind right? They fail to tell us anything and tie our eyes to an elephant so we can only obey while some bad aliens are eating us and using us as lab rats. It's not that it's better. Either way, told the truth about UFOs and alien contacts so humanity can grow up. Is that your synopsis? Is that what you really believe? That we should grow up into some great intergalactic society? Should we even trust them at all? With everything that we have learned about them so far, my opinion, no way. Now the drip feeding of disclosure is intensifying, it appears. What with the amazing news that space rugrats at NASA seem to have confirmed very recently. No one's paying attention. No one's really reading what NASA's putting out. For the first time ever, the U.S. Space Agency has spoken about life on other planets. And they are now certain it does exist. Certain. Which could be a huge step forward for our race. For the truth about extraterrestrials. More astonishing yet, NASA, having made these astonishing claims during a large conference event in Washington, January 2016, now hope to scour the universe in hope of finding these alien life forms. And they are pouring billions of your hard-earned tax dollars into this. They are planning to use some of the world's most advanced technology that we have been fed to produce a roadmap of space and where these aliens may live. NASA has already discovered more than 5,000 planets that could sustain life, and many more likely to be found. Nowadays, the modern telescope can look at hundreds of thousands of stars and tell if they have one or more orbiting planets from many hundreds of light years away. Who would have guessed? The mighty transistor, folks. Many people believe that this acceptance of life beyond the stars is a massive step toward full ET disclosure by our own government. Let us not forget that NASA has already hinted before that they are soon to one day discover alien civilizations in space, and have said they are certain of it. Certain. That's pretty powerful. Mark research has now put out that alien spaceship sightings are now at a new all-time high. In fact, 1 out of every 5 persons in the USA has seen a spaceship or knows someone who has. 1 out of every 5 persons has a UFO story. Really? NASA is now convinced that life can be found and that we are not alone in the universe. It has even been suggested that this is a critical way of informing the planet that we are very much not alone in the universe. Tick, tick, tock. NASA publications go on to say that what we didn't know 5 years ago is that perhaps 10 to 20% of stars around Earth have Earth-like planets in the habitable zone, says a Matt Mountain, director of the Webb Telescope scientist at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore. He says it's within our grasp to pull off a discovery that will change the world literally forever. Not in your children's lifetime, but in your own. Folks, this is coming from NASA. It's going to take a continuing partnership between NASA, science, technology, the United States, international space endeavors, and the military. They had to throw that in there. As exemplified by the James Webb Space Telescope to build the next bridge to humanity's future. They're going to build a bridge to humanity's future. Gotta love it. Most of you don't even know They had discovered an alien laser signal coming from Gliese. A laser signal. Let me repeat that. They had discovered an alien laser signal coming from Gliese 581 star system. They're not sure exactly what planet, but believe that it is Gliese 581e in December of 2008. Gliese 581e alien laser signal is now known as the Ragber-Bathanol-Gliese alien signal. Look that up. It's funny how only one observatory on Earth is keeping track of all these signals. One of my very dear friends in this world pointed that out to me just the other day. He said the fallen ones, they will be the great deception. I figured the telescopes at the Vatican built on Mount Graham and at the Vatican, Lucifer 1 and Lucifer 2, is to play a big part in this. They're the ones looking at the Gliese thing. My common sense theory in this is that Satan's sole purpose in his being was to corrupt the bloodline. I think all the cattle mutilations and abductions is to bring forth an alien hybrid bloodline that will be accepted as his creation, not the creation of our Lord. Watcher Society was recently giving pictures by one of our members that we took to the very highest levels. These pictures were determined not to be faked. These pictures were determined to actually be some sort of bullet-shaped alien craft with a huge heat signature. The craft was approximately measured out at the size of 8 or 9 football fields in diameter. Folks, there's no aircraft in life that's that big. Can't be us. This is my watchers at our society. The origins, spectral interpretation, resources, identification, security, Regloth Explorer, Rhesus Rex, or Cyrus Rex, is planned NASA asteroid study and sample return mission. It's fixing to be launched. But what they fail to tell you is something that will blow your mind's lid clean off. Now, the launch is planned for 8 September 2016, and it will study and return a sample asteroid 101955 Bennu, formerly designated as 199 RQ36, a carbon-based asteroid to Earth in 2023 for detailed analysis. Material returned is expected to enable scientists to learn more about the time before the formation and evolution of the solar system, which they claim must have evolved. Still sticking with that story. They can't seem to prove it here on Earth, but now they want to apply it to the heavens. Initial stages of planet formation in the source of organic compounds which led to the formation of all life, so they say. The cost of the mission will be approximately US dollars 800 million, straight out of your pocketbook. It's not including the launch vehicle, which is about another 183 million. Lockheed Martin, the disseminator of much alien technology, has completely assembled and is testing currently the spacecraft. It is the third planetary science mission selected in the New Frontiers program, after Juno and New Horizons. The principal investigator is a man named Dante Laurietta from the University of Arizona. His name is Dante, and he's looking for aliens. The mission, developed by the University of Arizona's Lunar and Planetary Observatory, NASA Goddard Flight Center, and Lockheed Martin Space Systems, is planned for launch in September 2016. The science team includes members from the United States, Canada, France, Germany, Great Britain, and Italy. Now, after traveling for about 2 years, the spacecraft will rendezvous with this asteroid Bennu. That'll happen in about 2018. And begin 505 days of surface mapping at a distance of approximately 3 miles. Results of that study will be used by the mission team to select the sample site and gradual process of approaching but not landing, and ultimately extending a robotic arm to gather the sample. It's much safer if we don't land. Isn't that what they said? It's much safer if we don't land. An asteroid was chosen as the target of study because an asteroid is the time capsule from the birth of our solar system. In particular, 101955 Bennu was selected because of the availability of pristine carbon substances, key element in organic molecules necessary for life, as well as representative matter from before the formations of the Earth. Organic molecules such as amino acids have previously been found in meteorites, comet samples, indicating that some of the ingredients might be there to tell the story of just how life came about and how life was naturally synthesized in outer space. They're going to collect about 60 grams to 2 kilograms of this, about 4 pounds of this stuff, in September of 2019. The sample will be returned to Earth in a capsule similar to that which returned the samples of Comet 81P Wild on the Stardust spacecraft. The return trip to Earth will be a lot shorter, allowing the sample to return and land at the Utah Test and Training Range in September of 2023. The capsule will then be transported to the Johnson Space Center for processing in a completely dedicated research facility with technicians who have been trained from a young adult. Really? This isn't indoctrination. Osiris, the Egyptian underworld lord of the dead. The acronym Osiris was chosen in reference to the ancient Egyptian mythological god Osiris, the underworld lord of the dead. He was classically depicted as a green-skinned man. Really? Green-skinned? Little green men? With a pharaoh's beard, partially mummy-wrapped at the legs and wearing distinctive crown with 2 large ostrich feathers at either side. Rex meaning king in Latin. His name was chosen for this mission as asteroid Bennu was a threatening Earth impactor capable of causing vast destruction and death here on planet Earth. Now, this is what they're not telling you. Bennu is headed dead for Earth. In fact, it may be the largest event that NASA has ever dreamed about telling anyone. Therefore, they're keeping their mouths quite zipped. Now, with that being said, I've looked this up, and I've looked up many of the other near-Earth objects, and this one is the real deal. In fact, this one could be the game changer of the end times. They're not even sure if this thing won't hit Earth, and have said if it does, it will be the largest explosion our planet has ever seen, and would likely make impact in the oceans, providing for waves that would cause all but those living in the highest places to not drown, But the water is the least of these issues, as the fiery brimstone of it would blanket most of the earth. Now, I've heard tons and tons of these end-day doomsday prophecies. Know there is a wormwood coming. Many like this one. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye out for old Bennu. Osiris asteroid. It's coming like a freight train and headed right at us regardless of what they know or don't. Folks, I did do a lot of research on this. Completes an orbit of the sun every 436 days. 1.5 years. 1.2 years. Its orbit takes it close to the Earth every 6 years. And although the orbit is reasonably well known, scientists continue to refine it. Better and better computers, now with the advent of quantum computing, have said now that this is the one. Really? This is the one? The one? It is critical to know the orbit of Bennu because recent calculations produced a cumulative probability of 1 in 410 of impact with Earth in the period of 2169 to 2199. The impact would be, according to Part Page, Assistant Director of Planetary Near-Earth Objects, to be the start of a, quote, new Earth. Where have we heard that at? What part of the Bible is a new Earth and new heavens in? So I called her up. I looked for her number. I found her. Name is Part Page. And I asked her after our talks on the phone about her being a Christian. Just had to bring it up. I just had to. She said no, she was raised and she believes as an atheist. Now I asked her if she had ever read the Bible, and she said no, she had not ever bothered. She quickly kept changing the subject back to the object of study and was ready to hang up on me. Folks, when atheists say there is going to be a new earth, and the Bible says at the end of this age there will be new heavens, new earth, she's looking right at this in the face and telling me that this is the object that could do it. You best know for sure that the real object is Jesus Christ. It's on the way. So let's do some very rough math to see how biblical this is. Let's see, it's 2016. Let's add whatever years to the tribulation there are. Then the 7 of the tribulation. Then let's add the 1,000-year reign. And you're just about on target for what God said the new heavens and new earth would be. Just as the atheist told me over the phone about this monster asteroid. Part of the OSIRIS-REx mission is to refine understanding of non-gravitational effects such as the Yarovensky effect on its orbit and the implications of those effects for Bennu's collision probability. Knowing Bennu's physical properties will be critically for future scientists to know when developing an asteroid impact avoidance mission. Really? They're planning far out because they know this one's going to hit, and this one's going to be a game changer. JPL's Page Part has stated publicly that this is the highest odds of a direct impact of any major object in the history of recording. Really? Really? Alright, in other strange space news, we have an update from a show about a year ago on Bill Uhouse. Folks, you need to look that name up, Bill Uhouse. A lot of people have said many things about this man they do not know the truth about. And I have some things that I have got directly from his family tonight, from his family. Assure you, I'm telling you the truth. And much of his final deathbed words. Now, Bill Uhouse, when he wrote this, was a 71-year-old man, and he proved to have been a Area 51 engineer and revealed that he used to work in collaboration with a gray alien, that's right, at the Area 51 site, and one of the few that were exposed to this alien. You heard it here first, folks. Bill Uhouse claimed to have worked with an alien dubbed J-Rod. It's a code name, by the way, CIA code name, who helped him in understanding how to control their alien vehicles. Bill Uhouse passed away, unfortunately, in 2009, and I have excerpts of his last will and many things that he said on his very deathbed. Some of these are going to move you. I don't know how many people believe in deathbed confessions. Personally, I think if you live all your life and you have something that you have to say about someone or something, that's the time that you're going to do it, right? That's the time you're going to pour your heart out and make them understand what you've been living with all your life. Right? Isn't that the time? Isn't that the time when you pour out your soul? Many of us have many things like that in us. Bill Uhouse, however, told a completely different story. His deathbed confessions were completely different than anyone else's I've ever heard. Wasn't made up. Our source on this is Bill's own family. They have come forward with this information directly to me. Now I'm going to read some of this, so pucker up. This is right out of Bill's own mouth. There are several massive underground systems composed of bases and compounds. These facilities contain laboratories, extensive laboratories with equipment that I could not recognize. That's pretty far-fetched. Workshops for reverse engineering on the human areas, and secure rooms for the extraterrestrial biological entities, or EBEs for short, located at Salt Mountain and underneath the, believe it or not, Denver Airport. That's right. Third base is located deep underground near Mount Echo, Nevada, and a fourth base is located in Antarctica, 5 clicks east of the Hell Point. The Denver base of operations is now the headquarters, the new headquarters for the Greys, with a vast system of tunnels stretching hundreds of miles and underground entrances from far away, all by secure buildings under heavy armed guard. It's from Bill's lips, not mine. Many of these bases were constructed toward the end of the Truman administration. The last one completed was at Denver. Multiple humanoid races exist. As many as 7, he says. And the government, he says, knows not one of them is up to any kind of so-called good. Each have proving a list of lies that the government has determined as lies. Bill said this. Each having a list of lies that have never produced fruit. Wonder what the Bible says about that. The technology they disseminate all deals with death and the ability to wage total global war. They appear as the biblical account of many of the 7 various kinds of angels Bill pointed out. Well, we know that there are 7 kinds of angels. So if a third of the host of heaven fell, you would assume that some of all 7 were in that mix that went and sided with Lucifer. They told the government that they were indeed beings of a higher order that had taken earth as their home until their leader comes from the heavens. So-called government experts on the Bible, that's a laugh, have compared each of these 7 races very similar to Bible descriptions of angels. Truman himself was at a great pain, being he was raised as a church member, to not notice this, and it is said to have said himself that these fallen ones were evil, and that he believed that we had made a deal with the devil. That's out of Truman's lips, not mine. Now, many of you remember Smokey and the Bandit and good old Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason was a very good friend, close friend of Richard Nixon. He also recounts the very same set of beings that he was taking to see personally. It was a golf game one day. The mention of UFOs came up while he was out playing golf with Nixon. And Nixon told him, "You know they're real, right?" Gleason nearly fell over. Gleason was amazed and he wanted to see them. So in a secret men's day out, Nixon took Gleason to Area 51 to see one of the grays that they had found dead at Roswell. Gleason, even in his last days, never recanted, and swore it was true. Jackie Gleason, a lot of people liked him. I know, if you want to believe that. I believe that account is very true. A race of grays, 3 types: tall, large grays, short grays, and grays the average human height as well. A race of tall Nordic human extraterrestrial looking with large and black eyes. There's even mention of a reptilian race Bill also talks about in his memoirs, his last day statements. He says each race is thousands of years more advanced than us and has up to end of days technology. So we are basically just newborns in a galactic community of intelligence. You find that many who believe in them also believe that God has had and sent godly angels here for various purposes. And their descriptions matches closely those recorded from both the Ark of the Covenant and biblical descriptions of angels. Fallen ones are indeed some of the angels as the Bible's list. A third of the host followed Lucifer from heaven. Bill says a treaty was signed between the United States and the Greys during the Eisenhower administration, and that trade began. We would receive alien technology in exchange for a certain number of humans. The Greys use humans for biological research and possibly attempting to create hybrids to save their dying race. Another lie the U.S. government says they have documented. They fully intend and have corrupted much of God's genetic codes for life on earth and taught man to do the same, as they were created, and has biblically done so to corrupt the bloodline of even Christ. Know this from the Bible. You're going to get chills down your spine once he begins to describe the extraterrestrials. Their habits, he said, were nasty to humans. Eating and vomiting flesh. And drinking blood of all kinds. In fact, they asked the government for an unending supply of human and animal blood as one of their first requests, and Bill often seen the workers bring the blood. Oh yeah, blood's a big part of this. Bill was asked if they were demons in disguise, and he replied, well, sure, they could be. Most of them that we dealt with were, using the old 1940s vernacular, slick, meaning very cunning. They were very evil and had ulterior motives. And those that think they come from hell, they could just be right as rain. Right out of Bill's mouth. Bill's job there was to take technology that dealt with propulsion and microtechnology, including chip technology, and tear it down so that it could be better understood. This would then be given to government agents after it was understood, and slowly disseminated to American companies through proxy hirees that the government would place in positions to dismantle for the Americans and others around the world to enjoy and get used to. He did his job faithfully until getting a very rare form of cancer that led to his retirement. Says he don't even know how he lasted such a long time in the situation that he was in. He was always scared for his life. Bill said they never ate alone, and eating was a very primitive thing that some said resembled a shark feeding frenzy. Really? Bill said they chanted a very thick set of noises that caused intense headaches and pain when they were in larger groups. Where have we heard that at? Bill said the Nordic ones had powerful weapons that resembled a flaming sword of light that emitted powerful vibrations that would cut objects from a distance. What kind of indoctrination does that sound like, my friends? When this was told about over 20 years before Star Wars. Bill believes he was exposed to many forms of radioactive substances designed to keep a quick turnover in the engineers, as so none would ever have a complete picture. Bill also witnessed aliens transferring this technology several times in boxes that would dissolve when it was time for them to do so. They would be given a box, they would take it to a secure location, and at a certain time, they would be given a signal and the box would dissolve, revealing pieces of technology. Bill detailed that some of them were very interested in telling us that the Bible was a direct lie, and that this is why they were here, as the real truth of things needed to be exposed, and they were here to help us. This is the same lie told at Eden. He said that their leader, who was not yet arrived on earth, was one who ruled with absolute truth. What did the devil say about that? He said the government knew they would soon expose themselves and needed to prepare the public for a shocker that would rock the world. These beings have a plan for the world, this world to come, the very day of the war, he says. When the missiles fly, they intend on taking over that very day. What's not demonic about that? Bill says. Folks, the Bible is telling you the truth. What Ezekiel seen was their fallen counterparts, fallen ones, the ones that fled heaven, that fled God, that fled the light. They took their tech with them, and they go to and fro over the earth, and they own our skies, just as the Bible says. Bill was told that any time they wanted, they could shut down all air travel, all communications, all roads, all vehicles, dig that, and kill as many as they desired. Straight from the mouth of the demons. These are demons, fallen ones who are about to apply the largest deception the world has ever seen. Folks, you heard it right here on the WPN. Alright, we're going to shift gears for just a moment. Usually we do the news first, the main story later. We reverse that tonight, but shifting gears. Now, demon technology, it is everywhere now. We're playing with God's very precious creations. Matthew 26, we find that even Solomon was not dressed as well as a simple lily. The genetics of God's perfection was never meant to be a toy for us to use to play God ourselves. It wasn't. Gave us those things for a different reason. Even outlines that reason. But of course, we have to mess with this as we mess with everything else. You're not going to like this. The U.S. Army has now got reasons to keep the abortion issue alive. That's right, the U.S. Army. Let me explain. You wonder why judgment's going to come upon us, the things that me and Bill Silas were talking about in my last show. In a recent move, Obama has signed off on the use of some 100 human fetuses, as well as Army veterans who are considered brain or cardio dead, for a new type of experiments based upon a new set of drugs. A new set of drugs that seem to defy death. That's right. So the U.S. Army is so interested in this fact that in a controversial move, they have hired a U.S. biotechnological company and have been given full permission to recruit 20 clinically dead patients, all soldiers, and 100 near-life fetus abortions, and try to bring back their central nervous systems from death. They can successfully reanimate parts of the upper spinal cord where the lower brainstem is located. There is a possibility that they could kickstart some vital body functions such as breathing and heartbeats and create virtual zombies. That's right. Only the U.S. Army. Only U.S. Army. Something these patients can only do with the help of machines right now, if at all. The aborted fetuses certainly can't. This represents the first trial of its kind and another step toward the eventual reversal of death in our lifetime, said CEO of BioQuark Incorporated. His name is Ira Pastor. And he told this to Sarah Napton of the British tabloid The Telegraph. So I had to go look all this up and look them up and find out. BioQuark team, which together with a Indian biotech company, that's right, we couldn't get an American company to do that because there's too many rats. So we had to hire one in India. Revitalife Sciences, India, was granted the full permission by the U.S. Army and the U.S. government from an institutional review board at the Indian and U.S. National Institutes of Health directly from the Pentagon to start clinical trials. However, now they say they're ready. These patients are now being flown to India. These fetuses are now being flown to India in special compartmentalizations. Can't even pronounce half this stuff. Yes, I'm crude. I don't have the best voice. They call me an Alex Jones clone. I don't care what they call me. I'm out here trying to spread the truth. I'm trying to tell you, the United States Army is now actively seeking to reanimate the dead in a project so freakingly similar to Dr. Frankenstein. The world has never seen the lights thereof. Phase 1 trial is described as a non-randomized proof-of-concept study to determine whether or not they can reverse brain death using a combination of techniques, including this secret drug. Some type of audio vibrational nerve stimulation and laser therapy. Got to get a laser in there somewhere. That's the best case scenario. Failing actual reanimation of the central nervous system, the team will be investigating if they can affect any changes in the twinges of the brain. That's a far out word. Basically what they're saying, these are layers of tissue that sit between the skull and the surface of the brain, and to see if they can reanimate any part of it. To make these corpses do anything of their bidding. That's why the Army is interested, so that they can get dead corpses to do their bidding. Man, what a better Army! Can't kill them because they're already dead! In particular, the team will be looking for improvements in the patient's pulse. Pulse, that's right. You got a pulse! I'm alive, but I'm not really alive. I'm just kind of hanging in there. Blood oxygen saturation, blood pressure, and respiration. Once they've been granted permission from the families of the U.S. veterans, that's what they're seeking right now. Letters went out this week. That's right, this week. The researchers will treat their 20 clinically dead veterans over a 6-week period in, let's see if I can get this name right, Anupam Hospital in Rapaport, India. After this, they will be monitored for several months to see if any changes have occurred, with the best monitoring equipment on Earth. I wonder what that is. Probably not anything they have at General Hospital. U.S. Army spokesman. We hope to see the results within the first 2 or 3 months, he told the Telegraph. How exactly does BioQuark intend to bring back the dead? The team will be administering 4 types of treatment, injecting these peptides, simple protein chains in the spinal cord, and injecting this super hyperactive drug into their spinal system, injecting stem cells into the brain twice weekly, and transcranial laser therapy, a non-invasive treatment that uses light to penetrate the skull to activate the body's natural recovery processes and regenerate it all. Right out of a scene from Frankenstein. They say this has been tested on stroke, migraine, and Parkinson's disease in the past and has all worked. This nerve stimulation. But this drug is unlike anything we've ever tested. And it will involve other techniques that involve delivering electrical impulses to the median nerve of the upper limbs. Really? Really? Didn't Dr. Frankenstein do that? Folks, we have so much more. We have a lot of news coming out of Russia as well. We know that the Russian president aims to restore the status quo prevailing in the Israeli-Syrian border region for 42 years. Not. Tide is turning. Moscow is now changing sides. He envisions his nation. That's right, we've switched gears on you. Better keep up. With the rights to the Golan oil, and has stated that privately many times now, and with John Kerry at his side, has incorporated this into the Syrian peace deal for July 1 enactment. As you know, the Rothschilds and Genie Oil and Gas is behind this. They're run by the very ones that run the military-industrial complex, who are using the very devil's technology, this demonic technology, to enslave us for the agenda of the fallen ones. Want everyone to hear that closely, because that's what's going on. Remember, Genie Oil was created after a meeting of the two of the bigwigs, Dick Cheney and Lord Rothschild. And after a little bit of research on this, I found that Dick Cheney's Skull and Bones outfit ties in with the Bushes and others, has a picture of a genie on many of their documents. Next show, we're going to get into that and explain to you why genie, the word genie, is important. You know, the jinn, someone possessed by a crazy spirit, crazy also used in Israeli slang for jinn, comes from the Arabic root jinn, meaning to cover, conceal. This root is related to the Hebrew also, and its meaning to protect or shelter. From there we get the word Megan, or shield, and Haganah, defense, which according to Klein was coined by Rashi. Surprisingly, to me at least, Klein and Kodardi translations do not connect to the word garden, although many do. Garden, out of genie. It's real funny, Genie Oil is a Garden State company, by the way. Individual member of the jinn is known as a genie. To render the Hebrew word actually is translated in English as familiar spirit. Where have we heard that before? I'm going to get very deep into that show too, and I have very special guests coming up on my next show, and more UFO tales. That's right. More of these alien creatures. We're going to get so deep into them. These bubble-headed clowns just don't get it. We're exposing them. You can clearly see that their symbols are going up everywhere. Even in Los Angeles this week, the largest pentagram ever devised by man will be set up for public display. Some 9 stories tall, 2,000 feet in circumference. Show off that the devil needs more uptime in our larger cities, says the founder of the event, a devil cult based in Los Angeles of Satanists. Hard at work. The event will be to praise the devil for a soon up-and-coming war that they hope will change the outcomes of good and evil, so they say. So says the founder, a Mark Wallenberg. The group intends on then hauling the pentagram around to 19 cities in the USA for similar rites and having it used as a backdrop for the next Burning Man festival. Clearly see the demons are in charge of that. Go read up on the Burning Man events and how Halloween Satanists wish to bring back the glory of the days when you'd give up one of your household to the Burning Man ritual. You'll see there's some aliens in that. Must return our nation back to God, else we will suffer a judgment, as Bill Silas said on our last show, that we could suffer, as Zechariah says, if we do not change those things that have rooted out Christ and bring in the devil's agenda from aliens to abortions. The great war is upon us, and the demons stop it mid-stride after millions are dead. Most everyone on earth is already programmed. Those that are left will believe it, and it will become popular. Devil only does things that are popular. To be part of the galactic New World Order. Not just our warring world. Many will follow dubstep right in line to the heart of the lie. We want you to know what being saved is. Wish you would ask the Lord to save you from all these things. It is a free gift. It's just a simple prayer the Lord of Lords just asked you to say. To mean it with all your heart, all your mind. To be free of these demonic times we live in and prosper for all eternity in heaven. Do this, folks. Even if all the Christians are wrong, are you going to chance being an eternity in hell? Live your life here on earth as an atheist? I urge you to ask the Lord to save your soul, pray the sinner's prayer, and follow the true God, who will indeed save your soul, heart, and mind from these demonic entities. Folks, my name is Mars, the Watcher's Prophecy News, and I love you. Good evening and good night. Come join us every Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, only on KW Radio. Good night and God bless.